Welcome to this video. In it, I overview some resources that will help you to complete your state senator essay. But before we do that, I want to step back and talk a little bit about why we're writing this essay, and Calvin and Hobbes, I think, would do that well. So Calvin says, when I grow up, I'm not going to read the newspaper, and I'm not going to follow complex issues, and I'm not going to vote. That way, I can complain that the government doesn't represent me. Then, when everything goes down the tubes, I can say the system doesn't work and justify my further lack of participation. An ingeniously self-fulfilling plan. It's a lot more fun to blame things than to fix them. And that attitude there at the end, it's a lot more fun to blame things than to fix them, I think is really common today, where people just throw up their hands and give up on politics. The reason I like this cartoon is because I don't think that Bill Watterson meant this to be advocating, oh, well, you can't do anything, don't say it. I think by writing it out this way, it points out that we can do something about it. We should have a better attitude than this, which I think is what this essay is all about, getting you to recognize that there are things you can do, and it's not out of your hands completely. Okay, so now into the main resource that I want to help you know how to use. It's called Legiscan, and that subtitle, Bringing People to the Process, I think is really telling of what they do. So if you click on this bill tracking at the top, you'll be able to see a lot of pretty much everything that you'll need for this essay to find a bill. So I recommend clicking on the Senate. You'll be able to further narrow the bills or resolutions or other down in a number of categories, as you can see here. You can also narrow it by state. So for those of you not in Idaho, you'll be able to do your state. And then this view top 50 search results above that is really helpful. There's some interesting things going on. Number one, you've got marijuana. Later down, you have marijuana with an H misspelled. So the ones on the left, the simple searches, are not the same as the complex searches. They just have them side by side. They're not equivalent. But there are all kinds of things. Not all of these are going to be going for Idaho. This is the statewide lists, but this could give you a good idea. And if you, as you can see, you can go into an individual one and then find Idaho in there. So let's look at this one while we're here. So this is under the National Popular Vote category. It's a bill introduced in Idaho. It's basically saying, let's vote, let's elect the president on the popular vote, not the Electoral College. So you can see that it has a one sponsor here. It has the history. There are all kinds of state resources that you can get to the actual text of the bill. Okay, let's say you're interested in this topic. You want to write about this. Let's say you're pro. You want this to be a thing. You want this to be a popular vote should be the way we elect president. So you could do research about this, learning all about how the Electoral College works, how other countries do popular votes, how all of the applicable things that you would need to approach a senator and actually contact them recommending, hey, I think this is something that we need to do as a state, or in this case, as a national body of legislators. Okay, let's do one more real quick. So I'm here on the state Idaho Senate bills introduced, and I'm just scrolling through, and I find one that looks interesting, one about dietitians, which I thought about Christina, and thought, okay, this might be something that she would be interested in. So we click on the details, look at all kinds of things, and then I'm going to jump to the actual text of the bill. You can see how they use a very specific kind of language. It's going to be difficult to read, so this is not for this class. This is for actual lawmaker stuff. So keep that in mind that you're going to have to spend some time reading carefully. Okay, one last tool. So if you go to legislature.idaho.gov, you'll be able to look at who your actual senators are. So if we click on Senate, we can go to members, and you can see as I'm scrolling through all of the different people who are involved. So for example, if we look at this guy, Ronald Nate, economics professor. It's funny, I actually took a class from this guy. So if I were going to write this essay, I'd probably write it to Ronald Nate. He would be my audience for this essay, trying to argue something, convince him that he should take some action on a bill. That's really how you should be thinking about this. If these are real people, and these are the audience for this essay, you want some action to take place, and it's in the form of these bills that you are looking at. Okay, so let's overview again. So you'll use the Legiscan tool to find bills. You'll do your brainstorm post to figure a number of options. You will research one, get really creative in all the things that you look at for it. So that might be interviews, that might be web searches, that might be books, anything that you can find to really make yourself an expert on that. And then you will find your senator, so someone who you're their constituent, and you will write this essay to them, trying to argue a specific side of it. So a few things that you might consider. So if you want to argue that your state should do something that another state is doing, you can look in other states' things. If you want to say, oh, this thing that didn't pass should have passed, that's another option. I'm open to a lot of different things, so run things by me if you have questions, and good luck making this happen.